Howdy. We're skipping a lot of Colin McRae for this. Dude, it's a rally game. What more do you need? Colin McRae Rally from Codemasters started out in 1998 with just a simple SimK rally game. Under the supervision of Colin McRae himself, the game was started off with its handling system that tried its best to simulate the actual rally driving in real life. It was a success sales and critics wise. I made a video about it many years ago, but don't bother watching it, that one aged like milk, especially the tribute bit in the intro. Do look him up, I'm sure you'll be satisfied with the answers. With its success, it got sequels, following the same formula but with different career mode approaches. I like the sequels more mainly due to their menu designs, goofy ass bonus cards, and just great gameplay overall. And then something happened in 2007. Jeez, why y'all somber about it? It's just Dirt. Dirt was a lot different than its previous entries. It goes beyond rallying with hill climbing, truck racing, and rallycross returning from CMR2. It's all good and all, but the bloom and brown filter is distracting, and co-driver Nicky Gritz, who's been in the series since its inception, being replaced by some American dude is disappointing, but it's still great. Oh yeah, a few months after its first release, Colin accidentally killed himself via terrible chopper piloting, alongside his son and a few friends. Was that too harsh? I'm so sorry. 2 years later, Dirt 2 got released, which is like the last game, but more arcadey with more emphasis on extreme sports. Not only being sponsored by the X Games back when they used to do car racing, Colin used to participate in them after all, but also has prominent racing figures as opponents, like the late Ken Block and the late Dave Mirra. Fuck, a lot of dead people mentioned in this video. It still doesn't veer entirely away from rallying, thankfully, but it introduces the flashback mechanic, aka the rewind fish from Grid, something kinda like game modes, and hill climbing that isn't hill climbing at all, so it had a name change. It's just rallying without pace notes. Not actually bad if I'm being honest, but I can see why some were disappointed by it. Then came the third Dirt in 2011, much the same, but with historic cars making a return after being nearly absent in 2, and that kind of gincana from those Hoonigan videos. Where's that segue guy? And Showdown exists? Yeah, no, we have to go back. Dirt Rally is a return to form of sorts, moving away from the X Games aspect of 2 and 3 and heading to the more traditional rallying, with actual hill climbing and rally crossing carried over. What's unique about this game is that it started out as an early access game, one of the very few AAA games to do so. From late April to early December of 2015, players had the chance to play test the game out and give feedback to the developer. And sure enough, it got fully released with glowing reviews, with console ports coming out in April next year. Having the community doing the testing as well is actually a great idea, even if some never left early access so far. I was gonna play the Xbox One version using EA Play, never in my life have I thought this was gonna show up, but it got listed in late 2022. Thankfully, I recorded some of that version before the delist, and I own the PC version of Steam, so let's tackle that. Oh dear, sponsored by AMD, my GPU is definitely not an Nvidia. Well, okay, I'm actually using a Ryzen chip at the moment, but still. As per usual with a modern Codemasters game, you must first create a profile, write your name, put your gender, age, and nationality in, and change the driving settings to how you'd prefer. If this is your first time playing it, it's best to check the tutorial videos and do a few custom races so you can get accustomed to the physics of the game. And believe me, you will waste so much time to get used to it. Here's the main menu where you can make a career with offline and online racing, enter leagues, which I can never enter, Serish perhaps, make a custom event, change your profile, change your options, and check the tutorial videos where they teach you the basics of rally driving, from oversteering, road characteristics, pace notes, the works. While they are useful, I just wish there was a rally skill like in the first Colin McRae game. Are you trying to avoid that one particular game? No, why? As I said before, there's rallying, rallycross, and hill climbing, but what's more important is the first thing. So let's enter career mode and buy my first car. Yeah, we're back to buying stuff like in the first and second Dirt games. Since I only have a bit of cash to play with, I went with the Lancia Fulvia. Sure hope it being front wheel drive won't bite me in the ass. In the main championships, you have to finish in the podium overall to progress from open to clubman to professional and so on until you reach the master's difficulty. The harder it gets, the longer the rallies go. For instance, the open championships have rallies with 4 stages each, and for every difficulty increase, it has 2 more, up to 12 stages per rally in the masters. Fuck. I don't think I'm gonna finish the game for the review. Oh well, it isn't a requirement when all you do is race in the same stages sometimes. At least it's not Signalis. Oh man, like, I get it, 2015 game, so it is to be expected, but fuck, does it look great. Helps that the graphics don't have distracting filters and bloom covering the whole screen this time. It's very clean and very nice to see. And the night stages don't look pitch black. Glad to see that after playing X-Band Rally Extreme. I still would use HUD or bumper cam for it though. I have a few annoyances like how the motion blur keeps turning on and off infrequently, and the screen flashing a blurry grayscale filter when you hit something sometimes, but other than that, I have nothing else to complain. It even runs well on consoles, particularly the Xbox One. Granted, I played on the Xbox One X, though this was released before it, and it was never updated to be Xbox One X Enhanced. It didn't need to anyway, because it still ran so smooth. Codemasters tried their damnedest to make it playable at 1080p 60 FPS on the base consoles, and it really pays off. Anyways, back to the PC version. The HUD itself, while simple, still gives enough information about what's going on. Hell, even has a thing where the potential split time appears when you're driving near them, much like Team All 3 through Dirt 1. We're back to just being alone in this stage anyway. The menu system is alright, but compared to the old games, it's a disappointment. It's not very unique, and it almost resembles those menus that modern games have nowadays, where you have to use the shoulder buttons to quickly flip the page, if you will. There is a quick menu though, where you select the main menu stuff at the top, sort of like this bit in GT2's career mode. Realistic graphics may put a sour taste in some people's mouths, but the sound design is just fantastic. I freaking love how the car sound, whether you're using the external cams or inside the car. The Codeys put a lot of effort making the audio sound as realistic and as accurate as possible, and it shows. I just love it. Realistic car noises make me more giddy than realistic gun noises. This sucks. As per usual in a rally game, you have a co-driver that tells you about an incoming corner and the severity of it, with one being the most severe, which can be interpreted as the suggested gear you downshift to, even if the tutorial tells you otherwise.
There is a general misconception that the number relates to the gear you should be in, but this isn't always the case. If you come out of a right 2 in 2nd gear immediately into a left 6, you are unlikely to change straight into 6th gear.
As well as hazards and how long the straights are before something shows up, all that stuff. He may not have as much personality as Nicky Grist or the ones in 32 and 3, nor berates you when you mess up like the co-drivers in the last 2 WRC games from Evolution, but he's still clear enough for me to understand, though at rare times he can start up, which is a nice touch.
150 over bumps past junction, caution crest jump.
For Rallycross, you have a spotter that can help you win the race by suggesting you to take the Joker the first lap if possible, or if the opponents are taking it.
You're in a good position to go for the Joker on the first lap. Might be your best time to use it.
Not annoying, pretty helpful too, nothing more to say about them really. For music, it's not bad. The tracks themselves are pretty great to hear, though they're only played in the main menu and the replays as expected. It's original this time, much like the old CMR games, here composed by Stuart Ross. Hey, didn't I hear his stuff in GTA 3? Quite a resume. Well, I'd say it original, but one of them kinda sounds like Ghetto Burning by Phonet. Was it intentional as a nostalgia bit? Who knows? Normally in a rally game, I tend to go all aggressive and very flamboyant like Colin McRae himself. Not a single kill in the world whenever I try getting first in a rally event, but in something that's more simulation-like or at least difficult like Evolution's WRC Extreme and Rally Evolved, I try my best being careful because you never know what nuisance fucks up your run. This one is no exception. The Codey started this as a simulation, telling you on the screen that they made their most authentic rally racer possible after years of development. And they weren't kidding. Using a controller is doing much disservice to the game, but that's how I play most of it for the review. While I do have 2 wheels, they have issues. This Thrustmaster is for PS2 only, and the Speedlink wheel does have a USB connector alongside a PS2 controller one, but it's so rusted I'm afraid of plugging into my PC. Last time I tried before it rust, I couldn't find the drivers for it. I do have a dongle that can make any PS2 controller work on PC, and despite the rusty plug, I rolled the dice, plugged it in, and it actually still works. I did test the game with a Speedlink wheel set in Edgicon mode and the small arcade sticks as shifter. I am that demented. It works! But I wasn't used to driving with a wheel. I kept hitting and skidding around, losing my grip. It doesn't help that the wheel has suction cups to hold it on the desk, and they weren't good ones. Plus, it has tiny pedals, and there's this dead zone problem where the steering only works if you move further than usual. It's not a good setup regardless, so I built my courage to just get this over with and just stick to my controller. I'd better not waste my time learning how to drive proper just for this video. But yeah, the driving model isn't a cakewalk. You will oversteer a lot, you will understeer a lot, hell, you might even snap at times. You will drive fast enough to not see the small obstacles or not react well when you get into a twist. This is hardcore as hardcore can be, and if you think the all-wheel drive cars are bad, the rear-wheel drive cars are much worse, as they're more prone to oversteering, whether it's on dirt or on snow. Oh god, the snow. Even driving the slower cars can be a doozy when the roads are this narrow, and if you think you can fix a mistake by rewinding, guess again, because you can't rewind anymore. Yup, we're back to Colin McRae Rally and not great with rallying. If you mess up, tough luck, accept defeat. Or restart the stage. It's really undermined that you can still restart all you want, even if you don't get a bonus of restarting a few, or not at all in career mode. The bonus money isn't much anyway. Still, very stressful game to play. If in doubt, go flat out. Not in this game. Even still, it's not as bullshit as the last game I reviewed. Most of the crashes, off-track incidents, and all impediments are most of the time my own mistakes, and not the driving mechanics don't cooperate with me, nor the game forced me to upgrade my car to uncontrollable levels. Even the Group B cars aren't that frustrating to drive, though not by much. I tend to dare myself to go fast in the corner, only to then mess up by hitting a curb or rolling in the process. So if they say they did the most authentic experience for a rally game, I believe them. I consider this as a great candidate for that. And already I'm hearing some people going, well, this is the ultimate rally simulator, you mainstream bitch. You know what the real deal is? Yeah, I know about the gonorrhea game. I'm not saying Dirt Rally is the be-all end-all of rally games. Cody's words, not mine. Richard Burns Rally has done that stuff a decade before, and some might say that it's better than Dirt Rally. But here's the thing, that game lacks content. There's only like a few rally cars you can drive out of the box, the same amount of rallies as Dirt Rally, and it only has rallying, which I'm sure purists are fond of that, but I'm just not into it. Now sure, you can say that it's not about the content, but about the gameplay, but when that game's car roster only has WRC level all-wheel drive cars and an MGZR, I find it hard to pick that one up over the other. At least RBR is a driving school, but what the fuck else does it have that Dirt Rally doesn't? Better modding support, tell that to a console owner! Another difference is that you don't get to stop at the marshal in Dirt Rally. Once you cross the finish line, it's over, and you get a slow down finish just like in most modern racing games. You might find it lacking, but I see this as a good thing, because fuck trying to get to the marshal while I'm fishtailing. But don't worry, the more arcadey Dirt 4 and Rally 2.0 have the feature, but you can disable launch control in this game so that you can hold the handbrake before the start. Though that's unlike RBR, where you have to actually stay on neutral before the marshal tells you to go. I feel that game discourages automatic drivers because if I try to hold the handbrake and rev up, I still move. But regardless of which hardcore rally game you prefer, we can all agree that both of them take a lot, and I mean a lot, to get used to it. They're not pick up and play and not exactly casual friendly. 3 out of 10. But if I'm being honest, after playing Expand Rally Extreme, I find myself more chill playing this game. Considering that the rallies are now time-based instead of the strict objective of just winning, cushions the blow by a lot. Helps that in order to move up a league in career mode, you have to finish the championship on a podium, and fortunately I keep ending up there in my playthrough. The rally championships are to be expected. You do all the 6 rallies, except the order is randomized, and so is the stage list when entering the rally. Of course, you have to race against your opponents' times. The one with the shortest total time is the rally winner, basic stuff. Though there's always something that bugs me, not just in Dirt Rally, but also rally games in general. It always bewilders me how sometimes the opponents just fucking suck at a stage, and then sometime later, where it's a reverse stage or a long stage that has that part, I'm the one that sucks. Rally is weird, but even then, it's always best to be consistent. Back to the game specifically, if you go off track, you'll get a 15-second timer telling you to go back, risking a respawn and a time penalty if you don't. going far enough or pressing Y at a full stop just outright respawns you. I hate when I get them. It's even more annoying when you accidentally hit someone. But I get it, it's to simulate the time you get trying to get back on track, and even if there isn't a penalty or respawn, I take as much time to go back anyway, but still hits me in the gut every time. Speaking of time penalties, if you happen to have a puncture, you can just stop the car and press the appropriate button to fix it, which has an extra minute and a half in your runtime. I barely had a puncture in my playthrough, and even then I just kept trekking on because that's too much time to lose. One rally in the game consists of 2 long stages with 8 sectors, their halves with 4 sectors, and the reverse variants, totaling at 12 stages each. It's quite a structure, though because of that it can feel samey, especially when you race a long stage with the half that you just did before, and vice versa. Not that I mind much, it's at least good practice. Oddly enough, when you race a stage, you have 15 minutes to get to the finish, or 40 minutes for the long stages. I really don't get the inclusion. I never got past the 10-minute mark in a good run. Half the rallies were pleasant enough for me to like, while others were a nightmare to get through. So now it's time for me to spew my honest opinions about these rally events in order of when they were held in the 2002 WRC. Why not? Monaco sucks. Sure, the asphalt sections are great if really narrow, but then...
And ice patches from here.
Oh.
And right more ice patches from here.
Oh.
Ice from here.
Fuck. I swear, turning out the ice sections is hard. I keep suffering from understeering in an all-wheel drive car. And if it's a rear-wheel drive car, you now have the opposite problem of oversteering galore. I always dread doing Monaco in a championship because of all this. This rally is the worst so far. This rally is the worst overall, and it's because of 2 wars: snowbanks. They're a trap. If you ever touch them, your run is most likely fucked. And it doesn't help that the path is very narrow most of the time, and because this is an icy rally, you slip a lot. It's hard to avoid them, and it's hard to get out of them. Plus, no frozen lake sections, so this is easily my worst on the list, and it's only going up from here. I hope you like layers because you'll be driving beside them. I don't like Greece. You get to drive quick in these narrow roads with a wall on the side and a cliff on the other, so you're more likely to hit or fall. Plus tons of hairpins and rocks on the way. But it has the decency of being a dirt rally this time. The fastest rally in the game, but don't expect it to be easy. It's Finland, it never is. Because it's so fast, your reaction time has to be top notch. Otherwise, you end up flipping your car, or hitting the tree, or even the spectators. So you might think I'd rank it lower than Greece, but no. Aside from this chicane, it's still alleviating enough to be one of my good ones. The roads aren't too narrow, and I'm not running the risk of crashing to a cliff wall very often. Not a terrible rally, but I've still seen better. Best one out of the group. Being the only completely tarmac rally, expect a lot of grip. Though being set in bomb holes, or particularly in its military training ground, expect a lot of hicklestones too. Other than that, Germany is a pleasant rally with long straights, this sequence of sharp turns, and haystack chicanes. Hello again. It's always a treat seeing it being next on the randomly ordered list. The forest sections scare me. Having to drive fast while the trees are on my sides and the roads are narrow almost makes this a horror game, though in my experience I hit the shoulders more than I hit the trees. But the rally itself has a few of my favorite stages, like this bit where it's mostly the plains, and you finish in this area where there's a lot of people watching. It looks better at night with them using flash photography, always nice. Seriously, this game feels more alive than Expand Rally Extreme. I mean, I get it, that's an older budget title compared to this, but it's still a disappointment to see less people watching in person there. Besides its fearsome shortcomings, it's still a great ride to drive on. So how should I rank them? Well, not for a tier list, otherwise it'll look more like this. Here's a simple ranking list instead. Can we move on? Hill climb is like rallying but without a co-driver. Unlike in the previous games that featured hill climbing or similar, you get to do 2 runs and only your fastest of those get counted. Plus, you have to build up speed and cross the starting line for the time to activate. Other than that, it's the same. It's real nice to experience the full Pikes Peak before Polyphony snagged the exclusive rights and never use it in their games. How evil is that? But speaking of Polyphony, it's amazing how far we've come. When I first tried Pikes Peak in the game, it was in GT2, where you can drive on this part of the track, from Glen Cove to the Devil's Playground, as well as a reverse variant. It is one of the most difficult parts, though the developers made it very wide to accommodate 2 racers. But to give you an idea how long Pikes Peak actually is, here's the part GT2 used, and here's the full thing. Damn. Shame this is the only hill climb track available for the game. Dirt 1 had one more. It has gravel and mixed variants if you want to have a dirtier climb dance, but still. I'm also disappointed for its car list. Only 4 cars. No Suzuki, no Tacoma, none of the more good stuff. All but 1 are Peugeots. I'm sensing favoritism here. Or licensing issues, one of the 2. I just think hill climbing in this game was an afterthought, and now it's not on any follow-up. I blame these 2. Then you have Rallycross, in which the game has the World RX license, meaning that it has a race structure format, 4 qualifying heats, the semi, and the finals by default, and joker laps that you must take only once if you don't want to risk getting penalized. Oh shit, actual drivers beside me, and they're rowdy as fuck, like shit. I had times when some drivers decided to take the Joker right as I was turning, and they just like ramming at you. They don't like braking as I'm slowing down, only when they feel like it. Am I playing Dirt Rally or Grid? After graduating to the Pro difficulty, the WRX is unlocked. But despite the game having the license, it only has 3 tracks from the 2015 season. Linden Hill, that one Swedish track that if I try pronouncing its name, I might offend the Swedes. And hell! Norway. It's only up by 10. While I like Hell on the other track, I despise Linden Hill. Its Joker is shit. It ends with a horrendous chicane that can break races more than it can make, at least in my experience, and the hairpins in the full enclosement tracks don't help either. I never had much trouble in the others, yet I almost always lose in these races because of them. This is just the worst of the 3. If you want my advice, never ever take the Joker lap on the first lap, unless the spotter suggests you to. It will always bring you trouble and a waste of your nerves. The car list in general is pretty great. I have already said my opinion about the hill climbers, but the rest is more interesting. Sure, you have the usual stuff like the Stratos, the 5 Turbo, the Coupe cars, and what have you, but I didn't expect the Ibiza and the 306 to show up, and the old Bugatti Impreza. And it's not the Rally Team USA variant that showed up in CMR3, no, it's the WRC version. It's quite awesome to see, to be honest. I love it more when any developer adds some cars that were rarely seen in most rally games, though I wish it had the McRae R4 from the Dirt games, at least it's on their WRC game. Each car has a set of different liveries, except for the Audis and the 208 Hill Climber for some reason. What's with that? That Love game had the same issue too. It's great that they have different colors, even if they also have simple sponsorless ones that are just boring to see and makes me rather use bumper cam instead. There is a muddy community thankfully. In Overtake it's mostly car skins, but there's a few custom models here and there. However, they're only replacements rather than additions, which means you might get banned if you use them in online races. Still, I like what users have made, from original liveries to recreations, which is a lot of them. Making my own is somewhat more complicated than in Expand Rally Extreme. It requires an external program to open the PSSG files to export editable images and then import back once done, and it doesn't even provide me with wireframe guides, which tells me the coders didn't expect this game to have community made stuff. At least in XRS, you can just edit the DDS file in GIMP. Shame I can't see the custom skins in that game, so score 1 for Dirt Rally. It's not as mod-friendly as RBR, but I can take it. Look, it's a simple reskin of the Impreza I made. With that being said, I bet you didn't expect this game to have Steam Workshop support. Unfortunately, it's only ever used to upload custom setups for cars. Wish it had more. Oh, now I get to talk about its career mode. It's bad enough for me to compare this to previous games, but this career mode is so bare bones I can almost taste it. It doesn't have the structure of the first 3 Dirts, no big pyramid, no X games, no DC challenges, just pure championships just like in the first 4 CMR games. You pick a type, car class, and you're set up. Get through the rallies, climbs, or rallycross races to get the podium and move on to the next difficulty. I kinda get it really, it's a more back to basics approach, but after playing and streaming the entirety of Dirt 3, I expected more. But thankfully you have engineers you can hire, merely to make repairs less time consuming. Their contracts are on a stage by stage basis, so you better not have them leave your team in the middle of the rally, that'll be embarrassing. The better the stats, the more expensive you have to pay and extend their contracts, though if you expect the engineers getting better at their job as you progress, too bad. Only the sheep gets better, the others stay the same, so it's better to hire more skilled workers than to let them linger a little longer. However, there is something for them that you can unlock as you progress. After reaching certain distances, you can give your engineers perks. Yeah! with a K. Enhances, they can upgrade your car a little faster if your car is from a specific country, specific class, has a specific drivetrain, or is specific to the very car you're using. Right, during the rallies, your team will research and build upgrades for the car you're driving one by one, which can help you win somewhat. Yeah, the cars you buy are completely detuned, which is why the early stages of the main championships can be harsh. But the downside of the perk system is that you have to drive hundreds of kilometers to even unlock a slot, and if you replace an engineer, the perk slots get reset and you have to do it all over again. Maybe it would be better to reserve the perks usage at the tail end of the game, but what do I know? I suck at management. Make me the booker of a wrestling promotion. I might book a celebrity winning a world title, bro. You can also make your own championships if you want some extra cash. Select how many stages you want to do and select the unlock difficulty. However, just like in the main championships and our rally, the rally locations are randomized, so you might end up racing in Sweden. Ugh. Like other rally after it, you can also do the daily, weekly, and monthly challenges. I made a mistake, didn't I? It's always a random stage or a rally, and when you've done it and the timer hits 0, you get to collect your reward. Oddly enough, only one of the daily challenges give you a car, while you have to drive one you want for the rest. And you also have another daily challenge, except it has a stipulation, like having to own a specific car or wagering your own cash. You might end up getting it back and more at the end of the day. But I'm not daring myself that. You also have PvP stuff. No thanks. So that was Dirt Rally. If I have to spew my hot take, I think that this is a great spiritual successor to Richard Burns Rally. It takes a lot to get used to the driving physics, but if you manage them, it's a really challenging yet fun game. The rally aspect is great, while the rest of the types and its career mode can leave a lot to be desired. Obviously it's not for everyone, but if you're into hardcore simulation racing, then I recommend playing it. If not, you can always get the first 4 Dirts for more casual stuff. Oh wait, they're all delisted, never mind. At least Dirts 1 and 2 are on my abandonware. After the success, the Codys went back to regular Dirt with the 4th main entry. It's an interesting game, the handling is more streamlined and easy to grasp, but if you want, you can have the driving style like Dirt Rally and have a harder time playing it. It has rallying and rallycross, but also the return of Land Rush in both truck and buggy forms and Gymkhana-esque stuff. It's great and all, but what I'm disappointed about is the rally stages. Instead of being handcrafted levels, they're now procedurally generated, so I guess you could say Dirt 4 is a roguelite or something. Unfortunately, unlike the bespoke stages in the previous games, the generated ones can actually feel more samey. You might get through the same piece of the track multiple times in a single stage, and have to hear Nikki Grease going immediate right free over Crest Deceptive. Oh, and Nikki Grease makes a return after being missing since CMR5.
Perfect, great result, well done.
Also, Historic Rally gets its own category. I get it, but it's still odd. Then came Dirt Rally 2.0 in 2019. I like the title, why didn't Dirt 2 get the CMR2 treatment? Fairly good game from general consensus, though marred by the DLC, with some of the cars and all the locations from the first DR coming back as such for some greedy reason. This kind of business model only makes me want to wait years after release so that I can buy the complete version for cheap. It's made worse by the foregone conclusion that it will get delisted for licensing reasons sometime later, just like Dirt Rally and 4, but I can at least still play them after the fact. And Dirt 5 exists. Anyway, the Codys finally got to play with the WRC license since 2020, which caught the attention of EA, snagging them before Take-Two could. I don't know if I should feel happy or sad. It's an ending, that's enough. Dirt Rally was great and all, but gotta be honest, I'm done playing rally games for a while. Next time, goddammit Sony. Nothing like relaxing and onsen after sex. Say, are Crimson Devils compatible with humans?
I can't say for sure.
It doesn't matter, it was still amazing.
You're welcome. Now, I know you're worried about conversion, my dear. So, if you have second thoughts, it's fine.
Oh no, I don't. I really want to convert. I'm tired of being a Shintoist after 2 years. It's a pain when you have high libido.
Excellent. However, conversion in this case is a lot more than just a religion change. It changes your body and mind to something more comfortable. Conversion will make you more powerful and less vulnerable than you currently are. How would you like to be?
As long as you don't turn me into a succubus, surprise me.
I will.
I have something to say. I have two friends who want to meet you. One of them is my sister. Are you okay with having a double date?
Of course. But promise me this. Tell her not to expose what I'll do to you on that day. The masquerade must not be broken.
I promise, love. Want another go?